Folks, it's Kary Oberbrunner. I have with me two incredible authors. Oh my gosh. This is such an honor. It's such a privilege. Many times I get to launch clients and people that are outside of our company. Today, I wanted to do a very special launch for two of our own people, and these people are unbelievable. These books are fantastic. And what I'd love for you to do is I'd love for you to tag a friend, share this, because if you have a teenager, you'll want to listen, or if you know a teenager, or if you are a teenager, or if you have someone who has struggled with addiction, both of these books are going to absolutely help you. So I want to invite special guests right now. We have Kiera Colson and we have Rikki. How are you all doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Awesome.
I'm doing fantastic. This is such a blast. I saw your books come out a few weeks ago and I said, listen, we need to do a special joint party for all of this. So let's jump in right now. And first of all, let's talk about your books. So Kiera, let's go to you first. Tell us the book name and tell us why you wrote it.
So Teenfluencer Nation, actually my proof copy right here. Teenfluencer Nation is the why behind my current passion, which is teens and standing out in a world pressing in, because the world that we're in right now is constantly begging for our attention, constantly trying to shape who we are. But if as teens, if we can realize that who we are together in order to stand out in this world that's pressing in, if we do that, which is totally bigger than just what I could say in just a little bit of a second,
Yeah,
it will be entirely huge and it'll completely shape the future of humanity. So
I love it. So, I mean, you said it, the next generation is incredibly important. And many times they're not recognized, um, they're not given leadership roles, and like you said, they're pressured to just simply conform. So now we have Rikki, and Rikki, I don't know, did your book even start when you were a teenager? I mean, some of this, like in other words, the background, I think addiction and sobriety in this often happens in teenage years. What do you think?
Yeah, so it's funny you ask if I started a book like that in my teens because I did write a book probably in my early 20s that was based around a teenager who was dealing with addictions. It's not live
Whoa.
anymore, and I have a lot of work to do on it. But yeah, I did start writing about it a long time ago. And the reason I wrote this one, The Dark Side of Sobriety, is due to my husband who was struggling with addiction.
Wow.
And it was a bigger struggle for me because after he got out of treatment, I was just dumbfounded, like, what is going on? You're still acting loopy, you're still going crazy. I'm like, so learning what happens after you become sober was
Whoa.
a big deal. And not a lot of people know what you do after. They think, oh, you go to treatment, you're good to go, everything's great. But it's not. It's a process. You have to be healthy, you have to do so many things. And that's why I wanted to inform others who may have a significant other or family member struggling, because it does take a toll on not only your partner but you as well.
I think both of your books are so niche. And what I mean by that is, there's a term in the marketing world called the riches are in the niches. And that could be monetary wealth, but I think it's about the impact too. The riches that are going to happen because you're so specific. In other words, Kary, like your book, no one has to guess what it's about. Same thing with you, Rikki. No one has to guess. So, what do you think, Kiera, is your goal? What's one of your goals from this book?
absolutely. One of my goals for Teenfluencer Nation is just to get the idea, the concept into the teens. Because obviously, not everyone's going to read it, but if one person can read it and take a skill, an idea taken from that book and start applying it to their life, just their character, just their action, or just that change is going to start a whirlpool that starts shifting the next generation. Because as teens, naturally, I mean, even as adults, we follow. But if we start following and figuring out how we can lead in one area, but then bend in another and learn from weaknesses and strengths, it will completely change like the
Wow.
entire mindset.
Well, and here's one thing that I like about both your books. It's not theory. In other words, Kiera, are you a teenager?
Yes.
Okay, so, like, in other words, this isn't some, 80-year-old woman saying, "Let me tell you about teenagers." You are literally in this. I mean, are you in a college dorm right now?
I am. I'm in my dorm room.
All right, so, I mean, listen, I wasn't doing a book launch from my college dorm room when I was in college, so, first of all, big congrats to you. This is your second book.
Yes.
And then, Rikki, this is your second book.
Yep.
I got your books sent to me. They're fantastic. And tell us about that first one as well, because we'll get into both of your first books and talk about, like, maybe how these even relate to each other.
Yeah, so my first one is called A Perfectly Messy Life. It is about my own struggles with depression, mostly a little bit of addiction involved with myself, but mostly depression and self-harm. So I take the book and I tell my whole story, and then I give the advice about what I did to manage it, how I helped myself, and then what other people can do, which led into the next one, The Dark Side of Sobriety. It kind of leads into each other because it's still about helping somebody with addictions and depression, because with addiction it comes with depression. So and that's why I did it.
Yeah. Now, you tell us, is this a pen name, your other one?
Okay, so I chose Rikki M for The Dark Side of Sobriety because when I wrote my first book, I was not married. I wasn't actually even with my husband at that point in time. So my last name was Meister, which was my previously married name. And I didn't want to use that one again. And I didn't want to use Milbrandt because I didn't want people to get confused. So I thought Rikki M, it's still an M. So maybe people will recognize.
I love it. And this is a fascinating topic. I encourage people, like, read the back cover, because I've never heard of that. Yeah, you think of sobriety and you're like, oh, everything's great, everything's perfect, but you share kind of the backstory to what happens. That's powerful. Now let's go to your book. And so you did a tale of two twin. Wait, tell me about what's that called again?
Twin Tales?
Yeah. Wait, Twin Tales?
Yes.
Okay.
So I wrote Twin Tales. The original idea came in 4th grade, and then I published it when I was 16. And of course, what 4th grader does not love mermaids? So it is about two twin mermaids who were separated at birth and their journey to discovering their identity. I take the perspective of the mother, and then also split perspective of the twins. And then they have to save the entire mer kingdom, and they go through adventures and fight pirates and all that fun concepts. But it was really just another aspect of me. That book is more of a story that, like, took me into the water of the author world, and then led me to being able to produce and tell my story in Teenfluencer Nation.
Ooh, I like that. That's cool. And I'm with you all, because, man, my first book, I almost feel like as an author, you have to show up, you have to mature, you have to go through your own healing journey. And I hear you both kind of sharing that your first book was almost this preparation. What advice would you give, Rikki, to somebody who says, wow, I feel like I'm supposed to write a book. This is now your second one, so congrats. Most people don't even get to their first ever, but this is your second one. What advice would you give? And I'm sure there were some fears about, like, hey, if I go public with my story and with some of this vulnerable stuff, like, talk about some of those fears too.
Yep. So with my first one, I know my mom was a little worried about me telling my story. She actually didn't know any of the things that I wrote about. So when she finally read it, she was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that this was happening to you. I'm like, well, yeah, I hid it very well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That was a big struggle, just trying to figure out what kind of stories I actually wanted to put in there and let the world know. Because there are a lot of dark things that I put in that book, a lot of suicide issues and stuff like that. And, sharing that with the world is difficult, but it was very cathartic, because after I wrote that book, I just a weight was lifted. And Eric, he'll ask me, my husband, he'll ask me all the time, do you ever think about this anymore? Do you think about this person or that person? I'm like, no, I wrote about it. I got it out. And now it's there. It's gone. So I don't have to worry about those things anymore. So that would be my advice. If you have a story and you write it, and you'll feel so much better just getting it out, even if you don't publish. That's
so good. And I didn't know our stories were that similar. Wow. So, depression, self-injury. I didn't necessarily get into addiction, but it was self-injury addiction. So we kind of talk about different flavors of addiction, but wow, I'm with you though. Once you write, I think that you're totally on. There's something healing that happens as you write your story. Here's my thought. It goes from inside you to outside, and now you can actually analyze it from a different perspective. What do you think about that?
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. So Kiera, wow. What are you hearing from people about this book, Teenfluencer? I mean, it's crazy because some of your professors probably aren't published yet, and you're published twice. That's kind of fun. Have you gotten into any talks yet? Hey, I'm on Amazon, you're not, or
I have one professor who is published, Dr. Lamb. But there's like we're able to have really cool conversations. Like the other day, I was like, well, I use Otter.io to like work on some of my other like ideas I have in the car, because he was like, yeah, I just worked through it in my brain. And I was like, well, you can talk it out loud and speak it and it'll write it for you. So that's really been a cool concept. And like I've had just seeing like some of my siblings' friends like diving into the middle school aspects of my story that I put in there, because they're going to like, they're doing the same assignments that I had do while I was back in the day, like doing those, writing that section of my book. Cause I wrote it when I was 17 and now I'm 19 and it's out. And so even rereading it and seeing the different perspectives that have even almost changed now, like seeing where I was when I wrote the book, because by the time you finish, you're a different person. Like I agree with you guys, like with the concept of pushing that out. Because with Teenfluencer Nation, you have the characteristics. So I dive more into the motivation aspects, my kind of advice, my perspective, how I handled things, what worked for me, what didn't. And then I have the challenges, which are some aspects of things that I was struggling with, especially in middle school and high school. And then you have the case studies, because it's Teenfluencer Nation, not just Teenfluencer. And the case studies are case studies of teens throughout history. So we have Michael Jackson and Esther back to back, which my professor was like, oh, that's fantastic. Jaywalk, we love Jaywalk. Yes, it's been really cool just seeing how life is just like merging with it. And because I wasn't going to college like this semester, and now I was, so launching a book at the same time, like that was insane. I don't know if I necessarily recommend it, because it was a lot of work, but it's really cool seeing all the worlds merge at the same time, while also I'm creating a new world with the perspective I gained from writing Teenfluencer Nation. So
that's awesome. That is awesome. So look at our whole team is here. Lori's here, and Michelle, and your mom, which is awesome. You have someone who says, I want to be like Kiera when I grow up. You have, recovery with Rikki. I've never heard of the struggle after the recovery. So Jeff Hartman's jumping in, Jeffrey, so many good people here. And we're now going to be going to the Igniting Souls conference. Let's talk a little bit about how being around other authors is, Rikki. So you are now around other creators. Talk about that a little bit, because some of your past depression, some of your, being the partner of somebody who struggled with addiction, how is it to be around a group of people that are souls on fire, and what can you do, and what are you hoping gets done with the book?
Oh my gosh, I love Igniting Souls. When I joined in 2019, it was life-changing for me, just being around other authors with similar stories, or even, a little bit different, but like, it's just such a community of like-minded people who support each other. And that's what we all need, is just support from friends, from family, and that's what we are. We're Igniting Souls is just an amazing family, and I cannot wait to go to conference this year. I finally get to go in person, so I'm
Oh,
excited
yes.
about that. And I'm really hoping that with this book, I do hope to help other people that I can. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not real great with the marketing, but
Yeah.
I'm hoping it'll get out there, and if I can at least help one person, it will make me very happy.
Well, here's what I know. I want people right now to get Kiera's book and Rikki's book, and I'll tell you why I want this. Because books, I've done the research, nonfiction books are proven to be the densest form of knowledge. So let me say this for a moment. You watch a movie, it's like, the movie's good, you learn a little bit. But they've done research and said that what is the densest form of knowledge? It's nonfiction books. So rather than try to solve this issue of being a spouse of someone who struggles with addiction, you can actually go straight to the source and you can get answers. What are people going to find? I'm going to ask you both. What are people going to find inside this book? And I love clicking look inside and table of contents. But talk to us, walk us through a little bit. What are they going to get here?
So the beginning, you'll hear what Eric's story is like, what happened to him, and how he chose to get treatment and get help, but all the pitfalls that happened before he went into an actual treatment facility.
Wow.
There were many things that he did before he hit rock bottom to try and get help. So you'll hear all of that. You'll also hear about one of the chapters is Pause for Reflection, PAWS, which is post-acute withdrawal syndrome. And not a lot of people know what it is or what it does. And Eric has dealt with that since he became sober a year and a half ago. And it is so hard to manage it. It's almost like alcohol. When you're drinking alcohol, obviously it changes into sugar and your body keeps craving it and craving it. So when you stop doing that and you stop giving your partner or giving your body that sugar, your body goes into like almost a diabetic type state.
Wow.
So he's always very hypoglycemic. And so I talk about how you can manage those symptoms. I mean, they even call it dry drunk syndrome, which he'll come home sometimes from work and he'll act like he's drunk. And I'm like, what is going on? He'll have to sleep for the rest of the day. And it's a terrible feeling when that happens because you don't know how to fix it. So in my research, I've given you all the steps in there on what we've done to help him. Wow. And even this last week, I kid you not, we have found other things because it's been happening more lately. So we found even more things that we had to do to help.
Wow.
Get rid of the symptoms.
Well, I think of people in the tribe like Michelle Weidenbrenner, and
yes.
I don't know if you chatted with her, but I feel like there is this stigma that's being overcome, even with mental health. I know John Gigante's got a book coming out on that, but I feel like our world's finally maybe starting to say, look, we're not all fine. We're not all perfect. Let's take off the mask and let's get healthy. And scripture is amazing when it says the truth will set you free. And, I say often that the truth hurts before it sets you free. But it sounds like your book is really to help people get free.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. Okay. Let's go to your book now, Kiera. And your book is, I'm going to click look inside as well, because this is just fun to do. So what are we going to see with your book?
Absolutely. So like I kind of mentioned earlier, Teenfluencer Nation is my story. Then the tips and tricks, I suppose you could say, that as a teen that I've used and learned or seen others use. And then the case studies of teens throughout history that have been seen. So Michael Phelps is in there, Michael Jackson, Esther. But there you have the challenges. So you go through, I mentioned a season of my life where I was going through an eating disorder, perfectionism. I go with when I was on a basketball team, with ideas such as working as a team on the court when we weren't necessarily a team off the court. And I change schools every year. So just moving has a concept in it. So there's just different ideas, and each chapter has a main idea, such as uncertainty, participation, faith, authenticity. Those are all there on the table of context. And then you have the characteristics. So for confidence, one of the tips I've learned is if you have an outfit on that you just really don't like, walk like you're getting paid $1 million to wear it. Because I doubt every model loves what they're wearing, but they're getting paid, so they're gonna walk like they own it. And of course, relationships, connection, community is huge in Teenfluencer Nation, because it's about that. It's about that going to that next level, because the book is just the first step. There's more steps beyond that in order to reach the full potential of what Teenfluencer Nation can and will be.
Wow. And then you get in these case studies that you're talking about as well.
Yes.
I love it. So it's not theory. Neither. This is why I like it. You both have walked this path. I tell people often that a tip for writing is to write to your former stuck self. Your former stuck self. So do you feel like that's kind of your target audience?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Because I teach, you've all heard me teach on writing, but it's you can write as a sage, a Sherpa, or a struggler. And you both, it sounds like you wrote from a Sherpa, hey, this is what I struggled with, but here's a shortcut. Is that true?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So now here, as we land the plane, Rikki, what do you see as your big picture? Do you have a website? Do you want to chat with people? Do you want people just to read the book? What are your thoughts?
Reading the book, for sure. I have a website, rickymauthor.com. I don't update it as often as I should, but I need to start doing that. I also have a Facebook group, The Dark Side of Sobriety.
Ooh, that's cool.
Where I post pictures and quotes and things like that to help people through their days.
What do you hope happens with the Facebook group? That people get hope, you said?
Yes, I would love just to have people join the group and just to get daily hope. If they have questions, they can certainly ask questions on there, get advice, and things like that.
I love it. Choosing life, overcoming depression and addiction. Awesome. Different types of helps, tools. I love it. Fantastic. Super proud of you. All right, Kiera, what are you hoping people get? What's your website? Is it Teenfluencer Nation?
KieraColson.com.
Gotcha.
But like I said, the book is just the foundation. We have the course that just came out. So we've got 2 of those. That's daily videos that are 5 days a week that have me just speaking in on a specific topic. The course we have right now is identity. And then one-on-one coaching where we can dive into the passions of teens, taking that, figuring out what is your specific next step. And then a mastermind is being formed where the community aspect of that. And then we have a really awesome bundle on my website too that has the course and a t-shirt and the book all together. So that's the best thing if you want to get the next step for that specific area is really dive into the course. What I'm really excited about, because it's not just about me, I love hearing other people's stories, is the podcast that'll be launching in 2023. But we got to batch the content. So I'm starting my interviewing and starting getting the ideas lined out this fall, this winter. So if you're interested in possibly being a speaker on the podcast, you can go to my website and apply for that, because I would love to hear your story, talk to you, because this podcast is going to be about going beyond the surface level of the conversations that teens need to talk about, because they go through things that we don't talk about. You don't want to talk to them about it, but they're struggling with it. So we need to talk about it.
So good. I'm just so proud of both of you. I don't even know how we all got connected. It's a God thing, but you both caught my attention so much so that I said, I got to hire you. And we've been connected on the team for, I don't know, Kiera, when did you start working with us?
Probably 2018.
Oh my gosh. So I got you when you were like 4 years old. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. And Rikki, what about you? How long have you been over with us?
I joined AAE in 2019 and I started working with you in 2020.
Listen, I'm just so glad. I honestly don't even know how it happened. I don't know if I heard you both but something caught my attention, or somebody told me like you need to talk to these souls on fire. So super excited for both of you. And how cool is it that a book now will outlive you? Like, I'm not saying you're going to die, but I'm saying that a lot of times people think, well, crud, I wish I would have a book, but to help people. But Rikki, what do you think, just from a legacy standpoint, putting a book out there?
I think it's awesome to have a couple of books out there that will outlive me. My daughter refuses to read either of them, which is fine. She just turned 20 a couple last month. So, and Kiera, I did send her your book. I'm hoping it will help her.
Yeah.
She needs it. She went to Mississippi last year for college. Now she's back in Minnesota and she needs help.
Yes.
But yes, I'm hoping that my book will, just stay out there and help people long after I'm gone.
That's awesome. Kiera, putting your thoughts out there and a legacy. What do you think about that?
I mean, I haven't thought about it much because it's like I just go. Like that's just not something that I've just like sat down and reflected upon. Which I'm gonna be doing like my launch reflecting like next week after midterm. Because it's like I've launched my book and then it's like midterms. I'm like, wait, now I got to post-launch market. So it's so funny. Everything's go. But that's really is such an intriguing aspect. Like 20 years down the road when like I have kids and everything, I'm like, here, read this book. This is literally what I was thinking when I was 17.
Wow.
So that'll be really interesting, and it'll be such a cool thing that it'll always be tied into part of my life, and then it'll go beyond that years and years and years.
Awesome. Well, folks, check out the websites, check out the Amazon links. We have a lot of things here. Also, tag a friend, tag somebody who's either a teenager, has a teenager, somebody who has a spouse or sibling or something that struggles with addiction. Let's get this message out. Also, you can meet both of these fantastic authors at the Igniting Souls Conference. They'll be doing book signings as well. And Kiera is actually going to teach us about TikTok as well as a session. So thanks so much for being here today, ladies. And all the comments you'll have to read back later and see all the love people gave you, okay? Have a great day.